How to create deliberately. Now that you have a better understanding of the process of reality creation, we can take a look at how we can more deliberately create the energy that's available for us to line up with. There are things in our world that please us and things that do not please us. Things we like and things we don't like. A huge variety of objects, experiences, thoughts, people, in short, energy clumps of all shapes and sizes exist in our world. And we get to choose which ones we want to activate for ourselves, which ones we want more of in our reality. Remember, when you focus on something, you activate it, and the more you focus on that thing, the more of it you're going to experience. You have the ability to become aware of things that you don't like, things that don't please you. You have to have this ability, otherwise you wouldn't be able to deliberately choose what to create. Seeing both the wanted and the unwanted, the pretty and the ugly, allows you to identify what you do want. When you want to paint your house, you probably don't just call up the hardware store and tell them to send you some cans of red paint. You go to the hardware store and look at paint swatches. You look at a lot of swatches that you don't like, but you don't really pay much attention to them. All they're doing is helping you to eliminate choices. You might see a yellow swatch and say, "Ick, definitely not yellow, or anything even remotely like it." Some colors might be close, which will prompt you to say, "Yeah, like this green one, but not quite, but definitely something in the green family." And so you begin to look at all the different green ones, having eliminated all the other colors. You'll look at one green one and realize you need to go lighter, another and decide you need something more bluish green. You'll keep eliminating unwanted paint swatches and narrowing down the choices using the colors and qualities you don't like to help you identify what you do like, until you finally end up with the perfect color. Now, imagine that you went into the hardware store, looked at the first paint swatch, and began shouting at the poor teenager working behind the counter. "Gah! This is yellow! I hate yellow! Why would you even show me yellow? No one should paint their house yellow. Yellow shouldn't even exist." And then you'd keep staring at the yellow, getting madder and madder about how awful the yellow was. You'd call up your friends and tell them about the awful yellow, and they'd agree with you, even though they hadn't even seen the swatch. That yellow swatch would ruin your whole day. You wouldn't do that. You'd look at the yellow, realize it wasn't right for you, and move on. But we do this all the time. Think about the last time a phone call, newspaper story, or conversation got you so worked up you could think of nothing else for hours. All you were doing was focusing on the thing you didn't want instead of using it to help you identify what you did want. You were focusing on that yellow paint swatch. The key is to use those things that you don't like to help you to narrow down and identify the specifics of what you do like. There are many, many things in your environment. Some will be absolutely perfect for you, and many will not. Every time you see something you don't like, focus on it briefly, just long enough to help you figure out what exactly it is about that thing you don't like and what you would like instead. I don't like how in your face the prime colors are. I definitely want a pastel. Or focus on it just long enough to identify that you don't want that. I don't want to paint my house yellow. I'm not sure what I do want, but definitely not yellow. Let's say you received bad service in a restaurant. You can get upset, have a nice long complaining session on the drive home about how bad the service was, how good help is hard to find, how you hope the waitress gets fired, and how this is just another indication of how the world in general is going down the tubes. Or you can realize what it was about the service you didn't like. It was slow. The waitress wasn't smiling or friendly. And use it to identify what you do want. Fast, efficient service from a smiling, happy waitress. Then you could use the same amount of time you would have spent complaining to reminisce about a waitress you've had in the past that was great, why she was so great, and how it made your experience amazing. Which feels better? Which do you think is more likely to line you up with good service in the future? Which do you think will put you in a better mood on the drive home? Why don't you try the following for the next 30 days, even if your reality doesn't change, and it will. At the very least, you'll end up feeling a lot better about your world than you probably have in a long time. For the next 30 days, every time you walk into a room, identify and notice what's right. You can talk about or simply think about all the things that you like about the place. Train yourself to make this a new habit. Also, for the next 30 days, every time you notice something you don't like, use it deliberately to figure out what you would like instead. Then spend the same amount of time you would have spent dissecting it and complaining about it, talking about what you do like. Don't be surprised if these exercises are a bit difficult at first. If you're like most people, you've been trained really well in noticing what's wrong with your world and spending all your time focusing on that. But stick with it, and you'll be amazed at how much more positive you'll feel. And as your vibration changes, so will your physical reality. It must. It's a law.